When is Easter going to be next year? You probably have no clue because Easter never falls on the same Sunday every year. Have you ever thought about that? Why is it that we know when Christmas is, we know when Thanksgiving is, we know when other major holidays are, whether religious or non religious, but every year we're asking the question, when is Easter going to fall? Sometimes it's at the end of March, sometimes it's at the beginning of April, sometimes it's on the first Sunday, sometimes on the fourth Sunday. Inside of today's conversation, I want to really explain why Easter falls on a different day every single year. And you might have heard, or you might not have heard, it's actually connected to the winter solstice. I also, inside of today's conversation, want to answer the big question that I really did not think about until I was an adult. Where did Easter eggs come from? Because they clearly don't come from bunny rabbits, because bunny rabbits are mammals and mammals don't lay eggs. Let's have the conversation. Let's start with the basics. Easter never falls on the same Sunday because it's a movable feast. Unlike Christmas, which is stuck on December 25th, whether you like it or not, Easter is actually tied to the moon. Here's the official definition from the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Now, this is also the council where we get the Nicene Creed from. They said Easter falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox. Let me say that again, just to twist with your brain a little. Easter is equal to the first Sunday after the first full moon that comes after the beginning of the spring equinox. So what are we really celebrating here? A resurrection or a moon party? Actually, both. Let me explain. You see, the connection between Easter and the spring equinox isn't random. It's rooted in the timing of the Jewish Passover. According to the Bible, Jesus was crucified during Passover. Let's look at the book of Luke, the 22nd chapter, verses 1 and 2, where it says, "Now the festival of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus." So if the crucifixion happened during Passover, and Passover is based on a lunar calendar, then it makes sense that Easter would also float around based on the moon. But the early church didn't want to depend completely on the Jewish calendar to mark Easter. So they came up with their own formula. That's how we landed at spring equinox plus full moon plus next Sunday equals Easter. Which means, yes, Jesus' resurrection is now loosely orbiting the phases of the moon. That's church math for you, if you didn't know. But I want to zoom out for a second because we tie this holy day to the spring equinox for a reason. Why do we do this? I want you to think about it. Spring, the season of spring, is all about renewal. It's all about life coming from death. Winter dies, but then, boom, flowers bloom. The earth wakes up. Does this sound familiar? The resurrection of Jesus is the ultimate spring story. The fact that death doesn't get the last word. Life wins. That's what John 11:25 is really talking about when Jesus says, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die." So even though the date moves for Easter, the symbolism is solid. Easter had to be in spring because Jesus didn't just rise, he brought new life to the world. Now, keep that image inside of your head. Jesus rising, creation blooming, the moon glowing. because we're going to come back to it when we talk about the Easter Bunny. Yep, the bunny. But first, where did the bunny come from? Let's talk about it for a minute. No, it's not in the Bible. You're not going to find a rabbit in the Gospel of John. But the story is actually kind of fascinating. The idea of a rabbit as a symbol of fertility goes way back to ancient European pagan festivals. Spring was their time to celebrate life, rebirth, and fertility, and rabbits. Well, let's just say they're very productive creatures. Then there's a German folklore character named the Osterhase, or a hare who laid colorful eggs for children to find, which raises questions like, why is a hare laying eggs and why are we okay with that? Well, German immigrants brought this tradition to America in the 1700s, and boom, Easter Bunny plus eggs plus candy equals modern holiday magic. But why eggs? Because eggs also symbolize new life. And in early Christian tradition, eggs were forbidden during Lent. So when Easter Sunday came, it was time to break the fast. And what better way to break the fast than with eggs? Some folk would paint them red to symbolize the blood of Christ and then crack them open to remember the empty tomb. So before you throw shade on the plastic eggs, know that the egg actually had a powerful resurrection symbol before it ever became a candy container. So now you've got a holy day tied to the moon. It's rooted in the Passover, celebrated after the Equinox, and featuring a rabbit that lays eggs. Wow. We've got church councils, we've got Jewish tradition, we've got folklore, we've got springtime rituals, and Jesus all sharing space on your calendar as well as your kitchen table. So for the sake of today's conversation, I'm sure you're asking, okay, Dr. Dandridge, that's a lot of history, it's a lot of stuff you've given me, but what's the takeaway? Here it is. Don't miss the resurrection while chasing the rabbit. Here's the thing. Easter isn't just a holiday. It's a reminder that hope doesn't follow a schedule. It's a reminder that resurrection comes when the time is right. And it's not always when you expect it. Just like Easter moves, so does the timing of your breakthroughs. And yet, it always comes. And I already know that that's good news for somebody who's listening to this conversation right now. You might feel like you're stuck in a season of winter, but trust me, spring is already on the calendar and resurrection is on the way. If this episode gave you something to think about, laugh about, or maybe even pray about, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And hey, if you know someone who thinks Easter is just about peeps and egg hunts, share this episode with them. Let's get the word out that resurrection and Easter Sunday is deeper than chocolate bunnies. And if you want more conversations like this, where faith meets culture and tradition meets truth, stick around because there's a lot more coming from my desk. Until next time, I want you to keep growing, keep seeking, and keep hoping. I'm Dr. Dandridge, and thank you for joining me at my desk.